Probably going to cause a problem now because I'm not really meant to tell people this, but I'm telling you anyway. There's more of our products sold than any others out there. So we're starting to become a bit more of a household name.
Hi, good morning, Jason. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, battery storage. Can you please explain to us what it is, how it goes into people's homes, and what the benefit is for the homeowner?
Thank you for having me as well. So, energy storage is, we like to think it really makes renewables work. And there's several reasons why you should and could install energy storage. I mean, typically most people associate it with renewable energy. So whenever you're creating renewable energy, the key aspect of that, as everyone knows, renewable energy is created when the conditions are right, when the sun's shining, the wind's blowing. But obviously the consumption of energy is when people really want to use it. What we see typically is with solar, as an example, energy consumption being typically around 20-30% when people don't have a battery. When people install a battery, they can store that energy that's been produced when they're away from home, when they're not needing as much energy, and therefore you can use that energy at a later time. So we see a range of different applications of that being utilised in homes and businesses.
Okay.
Also, we see a lot of cases where people don't even have renewables and putting a battery in just to take care of tariffs, the fluctuations. So going back in the old days for me with Economy 7, when heating was there, but it's that same mentality. So utilising the flexible tariffs, the smart tariffs that are available, charging a battery at night and using the energy during the day, and maximizing the tariff structures that are available.
So for those people in our audience that have never heard of GivEnergy, can you just tell us a little bit about what GivEnergy does, what services and products it offers to the customer?
GivEnergy are a UK-based entity. We, like most energy storage companies, we have manufacturing in China. The unique thing about GivEnergy is all our software and all our IT is in the UK. We own the manufacturing in China, which again is quite unique. So a lot of products out there that are manufactured by others and then have a label put on them. But GivEnergy, we make the products, and then crucially, all the technology that sits behind what the customer sees on their app and the portal is done here in the UK. All their data is here in the UK. That is a really unique aspect for GivEnergy. In its previous guise, we've been trading now for about 6 years in the UK. It amazed me. It's about the same time as Octopus Energy. They quoted that to me the other day. So we've been around at a sort of similar time. We have a lot of tie-in with a lot of companies like Octopus, Eon, GivEnergy, OVO, and many of the energy companies that we work very, very closely with to make sure our products are compatible with their services. So right now, we are by far the leading brand in the UK. There's more of our products sold than any others out there. So we're starting to become a bit more of a household name. We have a lot of forums and we have a lot of ways that customers can interact with us, and we have a lot of super fans, and the really great thing is we've actually been recruiting a number of those people who've now come and work for us. They've become such keen advocates. They've actually been saying, can we come and work for you? And that's been brilliant for us because we've grown the company in the last year from 25-30 people in the UK. We now have about 80 people solely in the UK, and we've just got some absolute fantastic advocates of the brand and the technology.
So for most people, they'll have a solar PV system on the roof that they can put a battery to go alongside that to basically capture any excess production from the solar panels that they can reutilize at a later time, maybe at nighttime. From our perspective, we've got the solar PV and we've got an air source heat pump. How big a battery would you require in order to try and sustain a heat pump throughout the course of the night? Or is that where your technology also comes into it? So you've mentioned your partnerships with Octopus. Do you then avail of a cheaper tariff at night? What is the best solution potentially for somebody that has got an air source heat pump and a solar PV array to go with a GivEnergy solution?
You're really looking at your daily consumption. I have 2 electric vehicles as well. I haven't yet switched to air source heating myself, but I will be. I've insulated my home and done all the things. I've got a solar array on my house and the energy storage. But you're really looking at that typical energy consumption. So if your energy consumption is the UK average, you're sort of looking at that and saying, well, if my solar system is 4.5, 5, then you're generating more energy at times of the day than you will need. By far, the biggest selling battery we have is a 9.5 kilowatt hour battery. That stores enough energy for a typical house for a full day. We do sell a lot of 5.2 kilowatt hour batteries, which might then just to cover the scenario you're talking about there. But in reality, the cost differential isn't that great. So once you're doing it, that's why we see probably twice as many 9.5s installed as the 5.2. It really does depend on each individual circumstance, and that's why the installers are the best people to advise for your unique circumstance, but it is very much linked to your consumption.
So battery life is typically around 10 years. I'm not sure whether that's the same with GivEnergy. So when it comes to a return on investment, we looked at batteries going back 5 years ago. The return on investment was very, very high purely because the electricity tariffs were just so cheap. Have you seen an increase in sales since the electricity tariffs have just gone through the roof because ROI has now become a lot easier to come by?
Yeah, massively. I mean, the two biggest recent increases in demand have become COVID. People are working from home. We saw a massive increase in when people are working from home. Middle class earners who couldn't go on holiday, couldn't spend money in restaurants, were looking at investing in their home. There was also that uncertainty and the psychology that saw people panic buying. I actually saw, well, I want more energy independence. So now I actually want to be able to go off grid if needs be. If the world ends, I can work off grid. It's that sort of mentality. So we saw a big increase as a result of COVID. It also tied in with the COP, that whole concept of energy independence. And we saw a lot of people then starting to really galvanize their own thoughts into that. Obviously, the unfortunate war in Ukraine has put a lot more emphasis on energy security and energy pricing. We've just seen this real shift in the last 12 months to people just, again, that energy security, but also the price point. We've recently published a case study of somebody who's just put a battery alone. So I go back into that whole point of just installing a battery, and we're seeing paybacks now of about 3 years. If you've just installed a battery without anything else, using the tariffs that are available, you'll get payback in 3 years. The big costs of solar install are usually putting the solar panels on the roof and the battery. So they're the big cost elements of a solar install. What we're saying is you can do either independent of the other, and that's a really unique thing. So you can put panels on your roof and add a battery later. And a lot of people are now revisiting and putting batteries on. Or you can actually put a battery in your house now and put panels on later. And both are really taking about 3 to 4 years to pay back because the energy prices are very high. We still see that continuing to be the case for the next 2-3 years at least.
With regards to the battery itself, can you, through the app, you mentioned that there is an app, as the homeowner, can you actually start to schedule things like schedules so that, for example, the battery can power up during the day and then just drain during the night, or come on once a week, or just store only for emergencies? Can you kind of set all of those things up quite seamlessly?
Yeah, exactly. So it gives you full functionality. So you can determine your own reserve in your battery for emergency situations. So you can decide if you want to keep 20% in your battery for your own emergency. And what we're increasingly doing now, and again, this is very unique to the GivEnergy solution, we actually forecast within the app what your solar generation will be. So we will look at your panels, we'll take your history, we'll look at the weather forecast, and we'll say, tomorrow you will produce X kilowatts. And we track that and we model it for the next 5 days using the weather data. And we're pretty accurate, I've got to say, and we utilize all that data. So what we're actually starting to look at really is giving that full functionality of going, well, tomorrow it's going to be cloudy. You're typically using 8 kilowatts. Your system may only produce 4. What we'll do, we'll put 4 kilowatts overnight into your battery at the cheapest possible rate. The sun will do the rest and charge up. And by the end of the day, you'll have used all your own energy, and any energy you buy is at the absolute cheapest price. So that's that sort of level of really using the learning, machine learning and system learning that we've got, is to optimize your system to make sure you pay the absolute minimum for your energy.
Is it really as simple as just pressing something in the app to click over onto the battery usage, or do you have to go walk into the garage and go to the box and pull a lever or something? How easy is it to really get it to switch the whole house over to the battery?
All within the app. So it's all functionality. Wow. So if you put the energy backup within your system, Some batteries have it pre-installed as part of the system, but as long as you have that backup with it, functionality within there, it all happens within milliseconds, and you've got that full functionality. So all the controls, and actually just this morning I've been looking at the next iteration of the app and how we make that even simpler for the homeowners. And again, the app is really intuitive, and the portal that we have, so you've got more access through an online portal as well. But you can integrate anything in there, your car charger, if you've got a water wheel, if you've got a small micro turbine, all of your technology can be captured within our app as well.
This isn't a very common occurrence that actually does happen, but we have heard about lithium fires that have started in people's homes. What safety prevention measures are in GivEnergy's products that actually potentially prevents those kind of fires from starting?
It's all down actually to the chemistry of the cells. So we use lithium iron phosphate cells, a very safe technology. There's a number of tests that have been done where nail penetration tests, you literally can drive a nail. They're available on YouTube and they've been done. So you can drive a nail into the cell. It will not create a problem. The issue has come from nickel manganese cobalt cells. So that's the technology that when damaged creates thermal shock and actually is self-generating, then creates that fire. So we use only the safest technology. And the other element to why we use it is obviously a lot of uncertainty in terms of the origins of cobalt. And there's been a lot of stories about where cobalt comes from. Lithium iron phosphate has a much more, from a human rights perspective, a much cleaner record as well.
So does GivEnergy actually come and do the installation? Do you have your actual own team, your own staff, or do you outsource that?
That's all done by third parties. So we sell to wholesalers, and then we have a specialist training course, which since COVID has been done online. We're just in the process of moving to a new head office, and we'll be doing more in-person training because we'll have a training suite in Stoke-on-Trent, where we're located. Everybody who installs our product should have attended a training course and should have gone through an approved installer process. But we sell our systems to solar specialists, to electrical wholesalers. They will then sell it to an installer who will then come and fit it in the home. In a commercial sense, we do help more with the commissioning. We do have big containerized batteries. We have other systems that we will help with the actual commissioning. We have a team of engineers around the country who will go out and will support installers if they need that help as well. The typical energy storage company, and this is why so many people buy the GivEnergy product, the typical energy storage company has 2, 3, 4 people in the UK. Like I say, GivEnergy have about 80 now. So the level of support that is available, down to the amount of systems that are literally going in every single day, is all that's been built up as well behind the brand to support the customer.
So apart from lithium, are there any other chemicals or compounds that are in R&D that could be the potential future of batteries?
Always, yeah. We have a team in Shenzhen, an R&D lab that is huge. I think we've got about 300 people in our R&D lab that are always looking at the technologies. And we've got a smaller team here in the UK who work on that too, in terms of what the market's requiring for the UK, for Europe and other countries. So yeah, we have an extensive team there. A lot of people talk about different technologies. We test them out. We've got something we're quite excited about that I think is quite unique, but we'll have to keep that one under wraps for now at the moment.
And will that be green and clean?
Always, yes. So that's always what we're about. Even the technology, but everything we do, we try to be really good corporate citizens. We try and do a lot to support the local community and everything else. We're actually trying to develop something right now to help people who are genuinely struggling to pay. So we've got a really nice product there that we're trying to develop that is very low cost, that we'll just literally do at cost, trying to get government involved to say people who are genuinely struggling right now to heat their homes, or making that real harsh decision, do I heat my home or eat food? And that heat or eat debate is tragic. So we've got something that we're really trying to push that can help take people out of fuel poverty and lower their bills. So rather than the subsidies that the government's had, is put it into a small battery that can help the consumer. It will save them for years rather than a one-off £60 a month. We always try and think, what are people really needing right now? How can we help? We could sponsor a football team, we could sponsor a rugby team, we could do all the corporate advertising. No, we'd rather sponsor every local football team, kids football team, and sponsor it at that level. We try and do the right things all the time through the business. And that's probably why people haven't heard of us, because we don't do the big flash things. We don't do the big, look at us, look at us. We really focus on what's important to people.
The one question I've always had about lithium batteries, and I'm sorry to keep harping on about them, but are they recyclable?
Yes. So everything that is within a lithium iron phosphate battery is recyclable. Generally, what happens is they're created into a second life. So they're regenerated and put into lower demand systems, but ultimately, yes, everything has that potential to be split right back down and recycled.
So we had a bit of an eye-opening experience a couple of years ago. We got hit by a storm and we were without electricity for a couple of days. And the one thing that a lot of our friends and family would say is that, well, you guys are okay because you've got the solar panels on the roof, and obviously that is not the case. That got us thinking in terms of, okay, well, why don't we just put batteries in, and then basically the solar PV can charge the battery and that can power the house. But again, it's not that simple. Does GivEnergy have a solution, a turnkey solution that you can just fit straight into your house that will actually power your house in the event of a power outage?
The new product that we've developed, we launched it at Solar and Storage Live last year, which is our all-in-one product. So it's a fully integrated inverter and battery. We launched it at the show. We've further developed it. I've literally had the first 2 pre-production models now sent over from China to our factory in Stoke for testing. Probably going to cause a problem now because I'm not really meant to tell people this, but I'm telling you anyway. So the first 2 models are for integration testing. They're in our lab in Stoke. And then the first containers will be literally arriving. So that's a fully integrated AC coupled battery, which will retrofit. So if you have solar on your home and no battery, this is the perfect retrofit solution. It also has full grid backup. So the key thing to think about is how much solar you've got on your house. So if you've got a sort of 4 kilowatt system, is what power can that produce? What energy is within your battery? And what's your critical load? So within all of these, what you're determining is, yes, I'm going to just focus on my critical load. So if my power is out for a sustained period, I'm not going to have hot water, but I will have everything else. I'm not going to have my oven, but I'll be able to have my microwave. I'll be able to have my lighting. I'll be able to have my heating system that's working. That's the fundamental things I need. And I'll survive if I can't have a shower for a couple of days, while I work it out. Or you can say, no, actually, I want my hot water for other reasons. And you determine what goes on. So quite often people create a separate fuse board of the critical load for what they want in their home. And that can be powered by the battery. The battery itself, with a discharge of 7.5 peak kilowatts, will provide everything. But obviously, it's how long you want that safety net. I've been in a place where I lost power for 2 or 3 days because of a storm as well, and I was actually overseas on holiday, and it was just barbecue food and everything because that's all you could do. But if you want in your home and you want your heating, you want your heat pump to function, the battery will provide the power for that. It's just how long you want that to happen. Unless you've got a real anxiety over energy security, the 13.5 kilowatt will power your home, like I say, for a good 24 hours or more. And I think, in fairness, there's very few outages that are ever going to last longer than 24 hours. I think we'll have much bigger problems if that happens.
So once you've installed your battery, what kind of warranties, guarantees does GivEnergy offer? And what kind of maintenance should a homeowner be doing to those batteries going forward on an annual or kind of, biannual basis?
They are literally buy and forget. So our inverters, we typically sell with a 5-year warranty that is extendable to 10 years. The batteries come with 10 years, irrespective of the amount of cycles that you do. So there's nothing else you do. You literally put them in, and and we give that 10-year warranty. They will, in reality, last longer. They just perform slightly less efficient. So whilst we sort of guarantee them to the level for 10 years, in reality, they will last much longer than that, albeit slightly less efficient.
I've got to say, of all the things that we've spoken about on this channel over the years, that this is starting to sound very appealing.
Which is why there's so many going in. I mean, it's not just, if you think we're doing 1,000 systems a week in the UK, and we're waiting to see some data that it will likely be produced by the MCS soon, but we estimate anywhere between sort of like 40, 50, 60% of the market is being installed with GivEnergy batteries. There's just literally so many going in every single day and without issue.
Based on those numbers, I'm guessing you don't have any stock issues, because we shan't mention one of your competitors. There are kind of like 18-month waiting lists.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that if somebody goes for a GivEnergy system, stock levels are high.
Yeah, stock levels are good. We had problems a few months ago, like everybody else, and we had a number of batteries and inverters. We were struggling to get Wi-Fi dongles, to get cables and different things. I spent a lot of time last year just as that on the back of the Ukraine war, the demand, like say, just spiked, and the whole renewable industry was massively caught off guard with just the amount of demand. Nobody was anticipating in their sales forecasts that Putin was going to do what he did. The whole industry really got caught out across everything: mounting kit, solar panels, batteries, inverters. I think the whole industry's kind of caught up. Yeah, there's very good stocks around the UK of our products, probably at least a month or two stock in the UK for the demand we currently have. So that's where we like to have it. And we now store products as well for emergencies. For any distributor who gets a little bit short, we have stock ourselves in our own facility in Stoke.
So what would be your just general advice to a homeowner who's thinking of putting a battery in, with regards to like what should they think about? So do they need to be thinking about their location, or where they want to store the battery, how much space they need for the battery? Is there anything that they should really be paying particular attention to?
For anybody who's going to go down and think of that route, is talk to an installer. They'll give them the right advice. The battery, be it a GivEnergy battery or another product, can be literally installed in the house, outside the house. Mine's outside the house, at the sort of back, out the way. Don't give it a second thought. That's where my battery is. When you have that discussion, think about, like I say, your energy consumption. What is your average energy consumption? Look at your energy bill, have that information. That's what your installer will be keen to understand. Talk to an accredited installer. You can log on to the GivEnergy website. You can find local installers who've gone through the training. We do a training course every week, and there is between 50 and 70 people attend that training course every single week. We have a huge range of installers that are available. Somebody goes onto the GivEnergy website, they'll be able to find a local installer that's gone through the training, and they'll be able to give them some good advice in terms of specific, because everything is really specific to an individual home. The thing the homeowner can really do is think about what's their energy consumption, and if they're installing things like heat pumps, what's that going to be at the same time? Because that, obviously, if their demand today is X and they're adding to that, then what's that future demand likely to be to future-proof? But again, with a battery, you can just add a second one. If you're finding it's not enough, you're producing more energy than you're using, or you're starting to use more and you want more supply, just put another battery, add it on at a later date.
So before we say goodbye, Jason, just quickly tell us, is there anything that you are particularly excited about at GivEnergy? Anything in the pipeline that you can kind of just tell us a little bit about to kind of end the interview on a real good high?
In terms of product development, that's one thing, and we've touched on a couple of those: the all-in-one, the social housing, and people struggling to pay. We've got 3-phase products coming out. We've got our EV charger just about to come out. But I think the most exciting thing for me is our UK manufacturing side of things. So again, literally, if you go on our website, you can click on a link and see our first purpose-built factory underway at the moment. So we bought an old building that we reside. Quite a few people are based in, but literally at the side of that building, we're building our first factory. We are about to put planning permission in to knock down the building we're in, and then phase 2 to build another factory. So the first factory is going to be for our commercial systems. The second factory is where we'll be starting to make inverters in the UK. Is our plan. So we'll be starting to nearshore. And the third factory that we like to do, which is our sort of longer term strategy, is to actually make all of the UK and European battery requirements here in the UK. So we have a nearshoring strategy over the next sort of 3 to 5 years. That means not only do we manufacture in China for the rest of the world, but for UK and Europe, we'll be manufacturing our products here in the UK as well. So we're heavily invested. We've certainly got the next 2 years of construction lined up. We've recently bought a new head office as well, because the plan was to build one. We've just grown so quick, we couldn't wait to build a building. We're moving into our new head office next month. But the manufacturing side is the most exciting thing, bringing UK clean tech jobs into North Staffordshire and the Stoke-on-Trent area. Like I say, we'll be making the EV charger there. We'll be making inverters there in the next 2 years. But the battery factory, and ultimately making cells here in the UK using hopefully Cornish lithium, and utilizing a circular economy. We've got a really good, exciting line of sight to make everything and use local suppliers. We've even created, or even trying to create, and it's finding land and investment opportunities. We want to create a sort of small tech park that we can engage suppliers to work for us, and we'll do it as a joint venture and say, we need PCBs, we need the electronics, we need companies who can do this. We'll give you a guaranteed amount of work that enables you to be successful. Go and then use that as something else. So almost like angel investment. We've got so many great ideas, like I say, to be good corporate community citizens, to help the area. And Stoke-on-Trent, I don't know if you know it, it's been sort of a little bit forgotten since the pottery industries have declined and since the mining industries. We want to make it a real powerhouse for clean tech, for green jobs. We're working in partnership with Keele University. We're working with Staffs University and the local colleges for apprenticeships, for graduates. And we want to give people in the area something to aspire to. And something to be really proud of. So I'm really excited about our plans for the next 3 to 5 years, just to really bring that back here and make the UK a more of a powerhouse.
That was really interesting that you mentioned Cornish lithium. Has never really occurred to me before. Does the UK have its own resources of minerals that we can access?
Iron and phosphate are readily available. So when you think lithium iron phosphate, lithium is probably about 1% in the battery, and there's ready supply in Cornwall. It also supplies in Europe. So when we think about this and we want to create a more circular economy, yes, the UK is very much at the centre of that. But if we have to go further afield into Europe, we'll do that. Everything is available. Is it accessible? Yes, there's lithium in Cornwall, but we're not going to buy a mine and start excavating lithium out of a mine in Cornwall. So we need that to become an accessible resource. It is physically there. I think there are a number of people who've talked about this. So as long as that becomes accessible to us, we'll be looking to utilize that product. We know it will mean products will be a little bit more expensive, but in terms of for the environment, we're not shipping them across from China. We're not doing all those sort of things. And it gives us as a company more security, because although we're in 4 different factories in China, we're just on one continent. We want to utilize the UK to supply the UK and Europe.
Well, thank you very much, Jason. It has been really educational speaking to you. I've got to say, I've learned an awful lot about lithium batteries today that I didn't know, or just in batteries in general that I didn't know. So thank you very much. And very appealing. I think that we're going to have some comments below left by the audience.
Definitely.
So I'm interested to see what people say and what people ask. But thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.